It's recording. All right. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Oh, wrong thing. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, let's rock. They can hear you. Oh, it's okay. Who's they? It's going to go into YouTube later. All right, so pick one single color. Whatever color you want, pick a color. We're going to go around the unit circle right now. Listen up, guys. This is important, okay? So we're going to start here at this coordinate point, right? Now, it's a unit circle, so it is remember, the length is 1. What would be the coordinates here at 0 degrees? No. Here at this 1, 0, right? Because you're going over 1, but then you're not moving up or down. Okay, so this is equivalent to 0 degrees, right? If I go a full time around in the circle, how many degrees is that? 360. Okay, now we're going to practice also converting to radian measure. So if you were out on Friday, this is a good practice for you, right? So 360 divided by 180 is going to give you 2 pi. Okay, so you have the degrees and then you have the radian measure, okay? And the coordinates would be 1, 0. All right, so keep the same color. We're going to slide up to 90 degrees. All right, what would be the coordinates at 90 degrees? 0, 1, right? You're now staying put, but then you're going up 1. Convert 90 to radian. Pi over 2. Okay, you guys okay with that? All right, come over here to where -1 is. How many degrees is that? 180. All right. And then 180 is equivalent to what? Pi. And what would be those coordinates? Okay, are you guys okay so far? -1, 0, 180 and pi. Okay, come down here. 270 degrees. What would be the coordinates of that point? Oh, that's the radian measure, yes. Yeah, sorry, I jumped. 0, -1. Okay, now, if you weren't here, right, but you got to practice this. 270 in your calculator, 270 divided by 180, math, enter. Practice, because this is like part of your quiz. What do you get? Okay, so now you just put the pi with the numerator. So it's 3 pi over 2. Okay, you guys all right? Okay, so that is one set of color. Okay. I don't know where my Zoom went. Alrighty, so now those are, does anyone remember the fancy name that they're called? Begins with a Q. Quadrantal angles. Right, they're your quadrantal angles. So you have 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, right? Then you have 0 radians. Pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and then 2 pi. All right, let's pick another color. We're going to stick with this, a new color, okay? We're going to do 30 degrees. So I'm going to highlight where your 30 degrees is. Oh my God, can I draw? Okay, so now, because we're looking from 30, you have to look from the 30 degrees from the triangle on the board. If I go across from the 30, that length should be a half. So when I look across from the 30, God bless you, this length is a half, which makes the other length that square root of 3 over 2. Now, think about this in terms of decimals. Does that make sense? Square root of 3 over 2 was like 0.866. So notice how it's this length. Oh my God, can I draw that? It's going to be that length. Notice that it's pretty close to the number 1, right? But it's like 0.866. And then this other point, if we physically measured it out, would be 1/2 of 1, which is pretty cool. What happens is by putting the triangle inside of the unit circle, it creates coordinate points. It creates an x value, and then it creates a y value. So for 30 degrees, wait, first let's just switch that to radian measure too, so we practice before we write the coordinates down. So just practice 30 divided by 180. It's okay. Thank you, Nick. It should be pi over 6. Just make sure you practice that. Now, the coordinates at pi over 6 are going to be the square root of 3 over 2, comma, 1/2. Right? So for 30 degrees or pi over 6, depending on what mode you're in, right, the coordinates don't change. Right? It's just how you read the angle. Are you guys okay with that? All right, so now we're going to head to the second quadrant. And we're going to now look at the angle that has 30 degrees as a reference angle, right? So if I'm 30 degrees from 180, right? That looks like not good. If I'm 30 degrees short of 180, right? What angle is that? 150. Right? So this means that the reference angle for 150 is 30 degrees. Does everyone kind of like connect that? All right, let's convert it to radians so you practice, but make sure you guys practice it on the calculator so you know how to get the fraction. 150 divided by 180, math, enter, enter. And notice what your denominator is. It should be a 6, right? I believe it's 5 pi over 6. So notice that it matches my denominator. Okay, that's a unique thing with the radian measure. They will match their denominators for their reference angles. Okay. Now, because we're in the second quadrant, what's going to happen to the coordinate point? Who's going to be negative? The x. Very good. So you'll have negative square root of 3 over 2, comma 1/2. Okay, so the x and the y stay kind of the same. It's just their signs will change. Okay, as we go around the unit circle. All right. All right, let's pop into the third quadrant, right? I'm going to be 30 degrees more than 180, and that's going to make me what angle? 210, right? That's 30 degrees more. What will that be in radian measure? Practice the conversion, right? 210 divided by 180. Something pi over 6. Oh, 7 pi over 6. Okay, now our coordinates are going to be the same coordinates, but what's going to happen to their signs? Yeah, both negative. Good job. Okay, x and y both will be negative in that third quadrant. Slide over to the fourth quadrant, right? Now I'm going to be a little short, right, of 360. This is where you use that 360. 360 minus 30. Okay, and then if you want to practice your conversion, and it should be, see if you get 11 pi over 6. 11 pi over 6, practice it. Now, who will be negative here? The y. And this is how like reference angles tie everything in. Is like you learn the definition of a reference angle, but you might be like, well, what's the point, right? Well, you realize it helps. Like if you know that 150's reference is 30, you know the coordinates for that point, okay? If you have them memorized. And that's how that could be useful, okay? Yeah, green. All right. So pick a new color. We're going to do our 45s. Okay, 45s are a little bit easier. They have the same coordinates. So 45. Okay, so first let's practice convert that to radians. Okay, 45 divided by 180. Something in the meat needs my attention. Yeah, that's what happens. Sorry about that. All right. So you're going to have pi over 4. Now, the coordinates for this one are going to be the 45 one. So it's going to be square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. Okay, jump over to second quadrant, right? We're going to move a little faster this time. All right, 180 minus your 45, right? 180 minus 45, 135. Okay, practice doing your conversion. Okay, 135 divided by 180. Over James, don't wait. You guys got this. Should get 3 pi over 4. And then you're going to use the same coordinates, but who's going to be negative? X. And don't worry, guys. You don't have to have this memorized. Okay, don't stress too much about that. Right now, you're just getting the flow for it, how it works. We're practicing. What I like is you're practicing your reference angles. Okay. Head over to the third quadrant. Right. And now you're going to be more than 180, right? So that's going to be Ms. Sharp's like second favorite number. 225. Okay. Practice converting, divided by 180, and then pop a pi with it. Over 4, and then they're both negative here. Okay, you guys doing okay? All right, do the fourth quadrant. Okay, what do we got here? So 360 minus your 45. I think it should be 315. Is it okay? And then, oh my God, 7 pi over 4. I know I'm going fast. I want to get to the next one. And this will be square root of 2 over 2, comma negative. All right. Last one for your full unit circle, right? 60 degrees. Pick a new color. Oh, I'm going to do purple. I would say I'll give you guys a pass because I don't want you to miss this. All right. Because there's something else I got to go over. All right. 60 degrees. 60 degrees. Convert that guy to radians, right? And then we'll come up with the coordinates. It should be pi over, should get pi over 3. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is the 60 degrees is now the bigger angle, right? So your pi over 6 points, they actually kind of swap. Okay. So this becomes 1/2, comma, square root of 3 over 2. Do you guys remember what it means when, like, so 30 degrees and 60 degrees? They're a certain type of angle. It begins with a C, complementary. So it is unique when you have complementary angles about their X and Y values here. Okay, we'll talk more about that later. Just a little tidbit. All right, we're gonna go quick. Second quadrant. 180 minus your 60. 120. Divide that by 180. How many pi over 3s? 2 pi. God bless you. And you're getting the flow for the coordinates. Who becomes negative? That x. So negative a half root of 3 over 2. All right, pop down to third quadrant. When you're ready. 180 plus 60. 240. Okay. Change that to radians. What are we, pi over 3? Should be 4 pi over 3. And then they're both going to be negative. You guys doing okay? And last one, and then you have done a complete full unit circle, is 360 minus 60, 300 degrees. And that's going to be 5 pi over 3. Oh my god. 5 pi over 3. And then it's 1/2 negative square root of 3 over 10. So if I zoom out a little bit, you see like you have this whole gigantic unit circle, right? One of the biggest things, right? All your first quadrant angles, right? They're all positive, comma, positive, right? What happens in the second quadrant? Very good, right? Your x's become negative, right? Third quadrant, x and y, negative and a negative. Looks like a funky little face. And then fourth quadrant. Okay. So this is going to come into play for certain questions like that you're going to see, where these values that you guys just did, they're called our exact values, right? But you have from 0 degrees all the way to 360 degrees around the unit circle. So the point 359 degrees actually has a coordinate point, okay? 350 has a coordinate point. Negative 222 has a coordinate point, right? And they're all around this unit circle. So what I'm going to show you now, right? So for homework, right? All you're going to do is 1AB, AD, 1AD, 2AD. You're going to practice. I'm actually not having you do number 3 because it's just verifying the formula. And then 4 and 5. We're going to do 4A right now. You should practice like the B and the C, but we're going to do 4A right now before we head out today. Okay? So this point, they want you to figure out, they're saying, hey, the X value is 3/5. I want you guys to find the matching Y value. But it says find all possibilities, right? Because remember what we just learned. If X is positive, I could either be, my Y value could be positive or my Y value could be negative, okay? So this is where you will put your little plus or minus. I think on the delta, it will tell you the quadrant you're in, okay? So that's why this is like kind of useful for you guys to remember. It's just plotting points. So that never changes. You know what I mean? Your X's are negative over here on the left, and your X's are positive here on the right. So we're going to practice. You guys are going to do the little theorem, the x squared plus y squared equals 1, right? So 3/5 Make sure the square's on the outside. All right, go for it. Solve that guy and let's see what y equals. All right. Woohoo. And you want to make sure you use your calculator. I'm going to jump ahead. Did you get 16/25? Yeah. Anyone? Yeah, nice job. Okay, now when you do the square root, okay, if they don't tell you the quadrant, you guys want to put plus or minus here because those are two possibilities. Notice 16 and 25 are perfect what? Perfect squares. So your y value would be either a positive 4/5, which puts you in the first quadrant, or negative 4/5, which puts you in the fourth. Okay? I am staying today after school. Okay? So even if you want to work through the delta, you want to catch up if you've been out. All right? I'll be here. You guys got this? We will have a math up tomorrow, so you can ask questions. I'll make sure he gives you like a few minutes in the beginning to maybe ask any questions that you guys might have, okay? Yes, kiddo. If you have a medical